let's start off on the defensive side. A shutout in week one doesn't get much better than that. What do you carry over defensively to take on a Homestead offense that's going to be more potent than the offense that you saw last week?
Well, coming off a goose egg, I like to say. We just like to keep that adrenaline rushing. We obviously pitched a shutout, but we just want to keep that momentum rolling on defense against Homestead this week.
What was it schematically, and what was it about the defense that allowed you guys to have that type of performance last week?
I think we were pretty physical, and we got a lot of bodies to the ball. You know, they didn't have much breaks because we just kept getting bodies and bodies to the ball.
During this week, what are some of the key points that Coach Mannigel is stressing in practice, and what are going to be some of the biggest concerns as you head into Friday night's game?
Well, last year, they ended up beating us by 1 point last year, and this team this year, Homestead, isn't as talented as they were in the previous years. So he's just been telling us that the win's there for the take, and we got to come out, but it's the sack. So no team's just going to lay down for us. We just got to go out and go get it. When you take a look at 3A, you guys are still #1 in the state. What is it like to have that target on your back, and how do you approach every game knowing that if things don't go the way that you want, you won't be #1 in the state anymore? We just like to use it as a chip on our shoulder. We only got in the sack. We only got Lures. That's also 3A, and just to be one up on them. We'll see week 4 when we play them again. But it's just a nice chip to have on your shoulder. You're in your class and you're top of your class.
Talk a little bit about last year's game. You mentioned it, 1 point game. Came down to a kick at the end. What's going through your mind as Concordia lines up to kick that field goal?
Oh, well, last year, so we were going into halftime 20-0, so that was a good lead, and then everything went downhill from there. We got it back. I got my pick on the goal line, and then we drove the field, and it's just that one. I personally thought he got it. I seen the kick go up. It was on target. It was just one more inch, one more squat in the weight room. So I was happy when it went up, but I was torn apart when it didn't go in.
Did that motivate you at all, or did you learn something about this Concordia team? Because, that's a 6A team, and you guys were competitive literally to the last second, inches away from a victory.
It just told us that, like Coach Mannigel says, any game's for the take, and, we just got to go out and go get it. Last year, when losing by 1 point, it just shows you that if you tried this much harder on that one play or this much harder on that one series, that 1 point couldn't have made the game. So it just shows us that we got to come out from the first whistle to the last whistle.
Perfect, my man. As far as this Concordia team goes, nice start to the season, 29-0 against Southside here last week. What do you guys try to carry over from that game as a team to apply when you're playing Homestead this week?
I think that we started off slow versus Southside, so we need to pick it up when we play Homestead.
When you take a look at this team defensively, what did you like about the game against Southside, and what are some of the keys to having another performance like that?
I like that we stopped them. We only gave them like 40 yards of rushing, and I think we can take that to Homestead, which is a good rushing team.
For a guy who has been at Concordia, last year obviously the state championship run was magical, but graduating so many guys off last year's team, how much of a statement game could this be for Concordia to say, hey man, we may have graduated a bunch of dudes, but we're still back, we're still Concordia?
Yeah, because everybody's trying to put us down. Like, we're ranked 7th in the SAC as of right now, and we need to be up there, like, as a team we think we can be. Yeah.
What are your biggest concerns and what are your biggest points of emphasis during practice to get ready for Homestead?
I think it's the offense. The offense needs to step it up, and we'll be cool.
When you take a look at last year's game against Homestead, a 1 point game, you guys are lining up for a field goal right at the end. What's going through your head as the ball goes up in the air off the foot of Peter Morrison?
We hoped that it was enough. It looked like it, but it hit the bar and it came back.
When you saw it kind of skin the bar there, what was going through your head?
Please make it over. Yeah.
As far as that game goes, you guys didn't have many setbacks last season. Coach was kind of saying that was maybe a good wake-up call to show that you could compete with 6A teams. You guys had that kind of talent. Is that how you look at it when you take a look back at last year's game?
I think we could have. We could have played somebody else like a higher class than us, and we could have been good and came out victorious.
Final question: what are you most looking forward to about this Friday night's game?
I'm looking forward to make a statement, and that Concordia can be the best, and we're not the lower team.
Okay, Coach. Obviously, a great showing for you guys in Week 1, a shutout against Southside here. What do you carry over from Week 1 here into Week 2 of the 2017 season?
Well, we certainly hope our defense continues to play well. We thought going into the season that they'd be pretty strong, and I think last Friday night showed that. We were able to, for the most part, contain what Southside wanted to do. Their quarterback gave us some trouble, which is actually sort of a red flag as we head into this week because the quarterback we're facing this week is better. Offensively, we have still, even today, as we sit here on Thursday, we have some kinks to work out. But we're working at it, and we're getting better each practice, so we're optimistic.
When you take a look at Homestead, what are your biggest concerns and what are your points of emphasis throughout practice this week?
Well, I mean, Homestead is Homestead. They're a 6A team that's generally a power in the area and sometimes even in the state. They have a quarterback who is an outstanding player, difficult to tackle, runs really well. I think he accounted for about 400 yards last week against Northrop. So he's tough. And then they've got a defensive lineman, plays both the end and the nose, 59, Tico Brown. He's the real deal too. Not many teams on film have had an answer for him. So it kind of starts with those two guys, but then just by and large, they're just very well coached. They're always getting into the right play. They're where they're supposed to be. And so, you've got to beat Homestead, you've got to put together a really good game.
In some ways, you guys have a target on your back as well, being the #1 team in 3A. So how do you guys approach that, knowing that, you guys are at the top of the heap when it comes to your classification in the state?
Well, I hope our guys embrace that. I mean, that's a cool thing to experience, It's not a burden in any way, shape, or form. You use the word target, and, I mean, that's a good thing. Why wouldn't you want to be a target rather than a doormat? So I hope they're embracing it, and I hope we play like that. I hope we play like a team that's on a 13-game winning streak. I hope we play like a team that's #1 in 3A, and I think if we do that, we'll be in good shape. We're still probably the underdog because you're going in against a much bigger school, but we like our team this year, and we like our chances tomorrow night.
Last year, the game was right here. I remember a field goal right at the end from off the foot of Peter Morris and just skinned the crossbar. What's going through your mind at that point, and when you look back on it, how do you look back and remember that game?
The first thought that went through my mind is I can't believe we're trying a field goal, because that's not generally been a real strength at Concordia for the many years I've been here. Peter was really confident. He wanted to kick it, and he's the kind of kid where you just kind of say, okay. And we were at about the 25-yard line, so you're looking at a mini Hail Mary type play otherwise. So we gave him a shot, and immediately when the kick went up, it looked short, and that's actually what our coach said in the headset to me. He said it's short, and we didn't realize. I didn't even know it hit the crossbar until we watched the highlights later on. I just thought it was short, and it was. But we were really proud of the kids that night that we jumped way ahead of Homestead. Then they really dominated the second, third, and early part of the fourth quarters. But our guys kept playing, and I think it showed us that we could compete at that level, and probably in a way, even though it was a loss, it propelled us forward that season last year.